been produced in India. India was far greater industrial and manufacturing nation than any in Europe or than any other in Asia. Whereas historically Indian economy had been dominated in the world prior to the colonialism. Some observations, maybe you can go through your material, study material, that you go through the table 1.1, share of major countries in the world GDP 1, 2003 AD, percentage of world total. This is the trend in the share of major countries in the world GDP. Whereas major observations we got it before the 18th century. India and China were the two largest economies in the terms of their share in the world GDP. During the period from the first millennium till 14th century, India has been the largest GDP contributor to the world economy. During the first 70th century of Common Era, India has been the largest GDP contributor worldwide, ranking between 32% to 24 to 4%, with the exception of the two countries, 16th and 17th, where they stood second into China by a margin of about 0.5 percentage points at the turn of a century, 1500, and by about 7 percentage point at the turn of century, near about 1600. During the period from 17 to 1870, India's GDP contribution sold down to more than half, dropped around 12 percentage points to 24.4% to 12%. This is the trend in the share of major countries in the world GDP. Whereas British rule, stage of colonial economy, first disruption of the traditional economy. During the British period, the colonialism led to an integration of India's economy with the world economy, but in a subservient manner. The economic policy followed by the British led to rapid transformation of the Indian economy into a colonial economy, whose nature and structure were defined by the needs of the British economy, were determined by the needs of the British economy. The 18th century was a period of transformation. The economy became more exposed to the world economy. As the colonial route took root, the foundations were laid on the new economy based on present exports and support for the global industrial enterprise. This is the first. It is a distribution of traditional economy. Our traditional economy, crafts and handicrafts, rural economy has been hampered by the British period, during the British period. Then it is improvised of the peasantry. The first of two buffers was the agriculture sector, with the grant of Diwani taxation rights of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha in 1765. The policy of East India Company to extract the largest possible revenue led to complete devastation of India's agrarian economy and the society in the Diwani province. In a matter of a few years, one indication of the prevailing improvement and the general change was seen in the famine 1769 to 1770, in which about 1/3 of undivided Bengal's population was wiped off. The company replaced the existing land tenure system and introduced three different systems. The Jamidar, the company introduced three different systems. That is the Jamidari in the eastern India, the Rautari in the southern and western India, and the Mahalbari in the western Gangetic plains. The purpose was to secure the maximum guaranteed land revenue returns at the expenses of cultivators' well-being. Do you follow? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Hello? Yes, sir.
Do you follow? Improvement
Yes,
of the
sir.
peasantry, do you follow? The company replaced the existing land tenure system and introduced three different systems: the Jamindari, Rautari, and the Mahalbari in the Western Gangetic Plains. The purpose was to secure the maximum guaranteed land revenue returns. This was the primary aim of the company, whereas the purpose was to secure the maximum guaranteed land revenue returns at the expenses of cultivators' well-being. The Zamindari system or permanent settlement gave property rights to the Zamindars, and the revenue was fixed in perpetuity. The peasantry became tenants of Zamindars. Then commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture sign of progress towards capitalist agriculture. Our country is based on that is a rural based, whereas a socialist pattern, whereas in British, during the British period, the agriculture became commercialized, capitalist agriculture. In many areas, a class of rich peasants developed because of commercialization and a tenancy legislation. Most of them preferred to buy land and became landlords or to turn to money lending. As a result, except in a few pockets, capitalist farming was slow to develop. Importantly, commercialization of agriculture did not lead to capitalist farming or improved technology. Its main consequence was the diversification of better soil, available water, and other resources from food crops to commercial crops. This was the situation. The growing commercialization of agriculture also helped the moneylender merchants to exploit the cultivators. The exploited cultivators and the tenants became the most sufferer of this during the British period. Then agricultural laborers, improvised cultivators, most of them small peasants, tenants at will, and sharecroppers, had no resources or incentives to invest for the improvement of agriculture by using better cattle and seeds and more manure, fertilizer, inputs, that is inputs, whereas the peasants have no price for the inputs, they have not been supported. Understand? This is the first agriculture labor situation. Lack of modernization. Modernization also suffered over the revenue that the colonial state secured. It spent very little or improving agriculture. It developed almost its entire income to meet the needs of the British Indian administration. It devoted almost the entire income. The entire income was to meet the needs of the British Indian administrator, make payments of direct and indirect tributes to England, and serve the interest of the British trade and industry. ये कौन आम देशर स्वार्थ पे नथिला, ए देशर जो पैसा थिला से सेगुडा सब कौन होतला ना ब्रिटिशर्स जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर थिले ताको पाखो पैसा पड़ जाउतला हला. लैक ऑफ मॉडर्नाइजेशन तापर कौन होची मॉडर्नाइजेशन कोड आसीबो एट द टाइम व्हेन एग्रीकल्चर इन डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज वाज बीइंग मॉडर्नाइज्ड and reformed. There was a near absence of change in the technological production base of the Indian agriculture. Then ruins of artisans and handicrafts. Ruin of artisans and handicrafts. All the beginning of the British rule in the 18th century, India supplied quarter of all manufactured goods produced in the world, and the textile was the chief export item for India's European trade. British conquest destroyed the unity between in the agriculture and manufacturing sectors that characterized traditional Indian society. The villages lost their autonomy and self-sufficiency. The oppression practiced by the East India Company was its surveillance on the craftsmen of Bengal during the second half of the 18th century, forced them to sell their goods below the market price and to hire their services to below the prevailing wage, compelled many of them to abandon their ancestral professions. In the wake of the Industrial Revolution, there was a sudden collapse of urban handicrafts industry, which had for centuries made India's name by byword in the European markets. Not only did this export demand gradually evaporate, but colonial rule opened Indian markets for British manufactured goods. Understand? This is the situation of the artisans and handicrafts during the British period. Then status of modern industries. Although the basic requirements for economic growth were available in India, labor, capital, market, and a spirit of enterprise, yet the economy could not regain the path it had traversed in the past. All this was largely due to the colonial rule and the policies that were followed by to sustain that regime. Indeed, most analysis of the colonial India has attributed a uncertain performance and of the economy of the absence of modern industrial development to inter-British policy, which inhibited a local initiative. Every time colonial grip became weak due to crisis faced by the government, Indian industry thrives. This happened. This is the situation during the status of a modern enterprise. Machine age in India began when cotton, textile, jute, coal mining industries were started in the year 1850s. The first textile mill was opened in Bombay by Kwasi Ji Nana Bhoy in 1853 and the British jute mill in Bengal in 1855. These industries gradually expanded, by which the handicrafts and artisans were supported. Then most of the modern Indian industries were owned or controlled by the British capital. Only in the cotton textile did Indians have a large presence from the very beginning. And in the 1930s, the sugar industry was developed by Indians. There were many reasons for the domination of enterprise by British managing agencies. The railway policy of the government also discriminated against the Indian enterprise. Railway freight rates encouraged imports at the cost of trade in the domestic products. It was more difficult and costlier to distribute Indian goods than to distribute imported goods. Another serious weakness of Indian industrialization in the colonial period was the almost complete absence of a heavier capital goods industries, without which there can be no rapid independent development of industries. India lacked such basic industries as steel, metallurgy, machine, chemical, and oil in 1950. The country met about 90% of its need of machine tools through imports. India also lacked in the development of electric power. This was the situation during the British period. The tea industry developed in Assam, Bengal, South India, and the hills of Himachal Pradesh also. It was assisted by the government with grants of rent-free land and other facilities. In time, the use of trees spread across the India, and it also became an important item of export. Coffee plantations developed during this period in South India. The plantation and other foreign-owned industries were of hardly any advantage to the Indian people. Their profits went out of the country. Most of their products were sold in foreign markets, and the foreign exchange sway was utilized by the Britain. This was the overall situation of British rule, state of colonial economy. First, it was a disruption of the traditional economy, improvisation of the peasantry, commercialization of agriculture labors, lack of modernization, ruin of artisans and handicrafts, status of modern industries, and also these are the following disadvantages of British rule, state of colonial economy. Then drain of wealth. Hello?
Sir.
This is audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you understand the point? British rule, state of colonial economy? Those are the British rule, the state of colonialism, disruption of traditional economy, improvisation of the peasantry, commercialization of agriculture laborers, lack of modernization, ruin of artisans and handicrafts, the status of modern industries. All these are the negative disadvantage of British rule, state of colonial economy. Then come to the drain of wealth. Drain of wealth, there was there was the drain of India's wealth to Britain. It was the unilateral transfer of social surplus and a potential investable capital by the colonial state and its officials and foreign merchants to Britain. This transfer happened through the sale of council bills, which were sold in London in sterling to purchasers of Indian goods who received Indian rupee in exchange. Then there were several components of this drain of wealth. These were interest on the foreign debt incurred by the East India Company, military expenditure, guaranteed return of on foreign investments in railway, irrigation, road transport, finally home charges are paying for the Secretary of State and his establishment at the India office in London, as well as pay and the pension of civilian and military personnel. This was the situation of a drain of wealth. Understand? All these all these components like the expenses incurred, foreign debt incurred, company, Indian company, military expenditure, guaranteed return on foreign investment in railways, irrigation, road transport, and finally home charges are paying the Secretary of the State. This is the drain of wealth. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Sir, we are here.
Then next, poverty and famines. This was the terrible situation during the British period. First, we are not going the ancient history or ancient India or medieval India. Directly, this is the Indian economic development is determined post colonial era. Poverty and famines. Poverty, a series of famines that ravaged all parts of India in the second half of the 19th century contributed significantly to the incidence of poverty and deprivation in the country. There were regular scarcities and minor famines in one or other part of the country throughout the British rule. In 1770, a third of the population of Bengal reportedly died in a famine. In 1865 to 66, a famine engulfed Odisha, Bengal, Bihar, and Madras, and took a toll on nearly 2 million lives with Odisha alone, losing 1 million people between 1876 and 1878. 4 million people died, mainly Bombay and Madras residencies. In 1897, more than 5 million perished apart from these major famines. Many other local famines and sacrifices occurred. William Digby, a British writer, estimated that in all over 28.8 million people died during famines from 1854 to 1901. Another famine in 1943 accounted for nearly 1 million people in Bengal. These famines and the high losses of life indicate the extent to which poverty and hunger had taken root in India. This was the terrible situation, the poverty and famines. During the poverty period, they could not get 2 square meals in a day, and they die in starvation. This was the situation during the famine period and the poverty period. Then come to the macroeconomic policies. Macroeconomic is the overall situation of the Indian economy. Indian economy during the British era suffered from low levels and growth rates of national and per capita income, stagnant agriculture sector, falling share of indigenous handicrafts industry, weak capital goods industry base. We have already discussed that it ruin of artisans and handicrafts. Then disruption of traditional economy, which has a great impact on savings and investment. The state of the economy could not clearly depicted with the help of the following macroeconomic. First, saving and investment. Expansion of an economy depends on the process of capital accumulation, which is a function of the magnitude and utilization of economic surplus or savings generated in an economy for investment. The savings, the net savings in Indian economy from 1914 to 1946 was only 2.75% of the gross national product. This magnitude may be contrasted with the net savings in 1971-75 when they constituted 12% of the GNP, and more recently in 2017-18 the share of gross savings was 30.5% of the GDP. A considerable part of Indian social surplus savings was appropriated by the colonial state and deployed to finance its strategic interest. Another large part was appropriated by the indigenous landlords and money lenders. According to the Bipin Chandra, by the end of the colonial period, the rent and interest paid by the peasantry amounted to 14,000 million per year. Only a very small part of this large surplus was invested in the development of agriculture and industry. This was the first economic policy, first savings and investment impact. Fiscal policy also same, tax structure, meager spending on development of agriculture, industry and social infrastructure also. Trade policy also, the countries recorded major structural changes in the trade policy. The period can be divided into four parts: 1759 to 1813, 1813 to 1850, 1850 to 1914, and 1914 to 1947. This was the trade policy. The 1759 to 1813, the first period can be termed as the age of mercantilism. During this period, East India Company established its political supremacy, attempted to enforce exclusive monopolistic trade between India and Britain. Nevertheless, the company was largely unsuccessful due to activities of private traders. The important characteristic of the trade was that Indian trade continued to flow along the traditional channels, and its composition was based on the exchange of fine textiles, foodstuffs, and other raw materials for precious metals and certain manufactured products. The East India Company financed a large volume of its trade through the surplus from the budgetary sources of its Indian possessions. This is the quote by drain of wealth. And also the East India Company used its dominant position to compel weavers and other producers of export commodities to supply their output to the English company at a specified price determined the latter. This was the situation in trade policy during the period of 1759 to 1813, then 1813 to 1850. A major structural change took place during this period in the commodity composition of the Indian trade, which continued until the end of World War I. India was gradually transferred from being an exporter of manufactured products like textiles into a supplier of primary commodities, importing finished consumer goods and certain intermediate industrial goods. This is the during the period of 1813 to 1850. Then come to 1850 to 1914. The construction of railway lines in India during the 1850, the construction of railway lines and the outbreak of Crimean War gave a new impetus to the subcontinental trade. In the following 2 decades, volume and value of foreign trade increased phenomenally due to American Civil War and opening of Suez Canal. There was a general reduction in oceanic freight, rapid industrialization of continental countries. The USA and Japan created a new level of demand for raw materials and foodstuffs. This was the largest age of multilateral trade and international payments, 1850 to 1914. Then come to the 1914 to 1947, the age of multilateral trade and frictionless gold standard exchange system ended abruptly in 1914. The conditions under which Indian foreign trade was conducted in post-war period were dictated by worldwide industrial reorganization, growth of bilateral trading arrangements, a policy of tariff protection, and foreign exchange controls. In addition, India, along with the other exporters of primary commodities, suffered from the world depression of 1929. As a result of these developments, the general trend of India's foreign trade during the inter-war period were showed wide fluctuations. The last 7 years from the outbreak of the World War II to 1946 were characterized by wartime controls and large-scale political upheaval preceding India's independence in 1947, were influencing the trade flows. This was the situation 1914 to 1947. Hello? 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 Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Program of economic reconstruction for independent India. Program of economic reconstruction for independent India. Program of economic reconstruction for independent India. Indian national movement was a popular people's movement which represented the interest of different classes and strata of the Indian society. Indian national movement. Then a self-reliant economic development that supported social justice and a modernization of the society emerged as a common goal during the struggle for independence. This was the first struggle of independence. It was started in the hello 1857. First East India Company period, then British period. How British British took directly from East India Company to British rule came to India, imposed in India. How? Then in their speeches, writings, programs, and actions, the Nationalist Congress leaders and business leaders expressed the need for planned industrialization, public investment in social economic infrastructure in both rural and urban areas, agrarian reform, and creation of a modern financial system. This was the movement agenda. The Indian national movement, there was an agenda of these changes. Since early stages of the national movement, nationalists believed in complete economic transformation of the country based on industrialization. In the words of M.G. Ranade, factories could far more effectively than schools and colleges give a new birth to the activities of the nation. Suryanath Banerjee believed that industrial activity could help unite diverse peoples of India. Similarly, newspaper The Bengali in its edition on January 18, 1902 argued that the agitation for political rights may bind the various nationalities of India together for a time. The community of interest may cease when these rights are achieved, but the commercial union of the various Indian nationalities once established will never cease to exist. Commercial and industrial activity is therefore a bond of a very strong union and is therefore a mighty factor in the formation of a great Indian nation. Then the Karachi session became memorable in its resolution on national economic program. It declared that in order to end the exploitation of the masses, political freedom must include real economic freedom of the starving millions. It besides promising substantial reduction in rent, revenue, and living wages for workers, also emphasized state ownership or control of key industries, mines, means of transport. However, it was realized that the problems of poverty and unemployment and of the economic regeneration in general cannot be solved without industrialization of which India comprehensive scheme of national planning was required. Then this is the program of economic restriction for independent India. Before independent day, the Indian national movement first has a good impact on some change for economic reconstruction. Then in 1938, Subhash Chandra Bose was elected the president of Indian National Congress and preached over the 51st session at Haripura. In his presidential address, he spoke of the planned economic development of India, of independent India on socialist lines. He said, I have no doubt in my mind that our chief national problems relating to the eradication of poverty, illiteracy, disease, and to scientific production and distribution can be effectively tackled only along socialist lines. The very first thing which our future national government will have to do would be set up a commission for drawing up a comprehensive plan for reconstruction. During his presidential address, he delivered his speech in related to the socialist approach. Whereas the massive architecture of planning that the NPC, National Planning Committee, sought to undertake was evident from the division of work among its members. They divided the National Planning Commission. National Planning Commission divided their work among its members. 8 themes were identified: agriculture, industry, demographic relations, trade, transport, public welfare, education, and women's role. These were the 8 themes were identified and they distributed the task among its members. Who distributed? The National Planning Committee. Then the work of this group was an important step in evolving a national consensus. Indian capitalists had a long-term strategic interest in the success of the national movement, and it contributed in the evolution of a consensus for national development. The capitalist class in India grew from about to mid-19th century, which with largely an independent capital base. It grew rapidly between 1900 to 1947. Close to independence, indigenous enterprise had already concerned about 73% of the domestic market and over 80% of the deposits in the organized banking sector. In fact, by the mid-1920s, Indian capitalists began to correctly perceive their long-term class interest and felt strong enough to take a consistent and openly anti-imperialist position. This effort culminated in the formation of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry in 1927. These were the situation, program of economic reconstruction for India, for independent India. Do you understand? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you follow? The
Yes, sir.
program of economic reconstruction for independent India?
Yes.
Hello? Very good. Then come to the unit 2. Unit 2 is growth and structure of the Indian economy. Growth and structure of the Indian economy. First, it was unit 1 was, what is that? Hello? Indian economic development historical perspective first, unit 1. মানে তা ভিতরে কোন রইলা তাদের India in 18th century, British rule, drain of wealth, poverty and famines, then macroeconomic policy, savings and investment, fiscal policy, trade policy, then program of economic reconstruction for independent India. Then came to the unit 2. Unit 2 is growth and structure of the Indian economy. Unit 2 is growth. Hello? Growth and
Yes, sir.
structure of the Indian economy. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
The Indian economy has undergone significant transformations. since independence in 1947. Phase of different phases of growth. It has different phases of growth. That is in 1950 to 1960, 1970 to 1980, 1980 to onwards. Now we'll discuss about the growth and structure of the Indian economy. Different sectors of the economy, agriculture, industry or services employ natural, human and material resources and contribute to the aggregate flow of the goods and services during the given time period, which may normally be specified as a year. This aggregate flow of final goods and services constitutes the national product of the economy. Alternatively, if the economic activity comprises the aggregate flow of goods and services is measured in terms of the income earned by all the different factors of production. What is the factors of production? You know better than myself. That is land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. Employed in the production process during the year, it is termed as a national income. The national income may be can also be measured as the aggregate expenditure in the economy in terms of private consumption, government spending, investment and spending or net for exports. The Central Statistical Office has been producing annual official estimate of national income and other national accounts aggregate of India since 1955 and publish it annually in a national account statistics. That is published annual report, that is a national account statistics. It is with the help of this data that we shall study the trend in India's national income over last decades. Overall trends post-independence. India's economic development can be seen in terms of the following phases, each of which characterized by advancement, policy guidance, attendant changes in the structure of the economy. These are the situation after the post-independence period. This is the situation of post-independence period, growth and structure of the Indian economy. Understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? After independence, government of India has taken so much initiative. India's GDP increased at an annual average rate of 3.5% during this period. First step, phase 1, 1950 to 1980. Population has also increased at an annual average rate of over 2.00%. Therefore, the real per capita income has increased only at an annual average rate of 1%. During the past decade, the real national income went up by 3.80%. This rate came down to 3.5% in the 1960s, 3.1% in the 1970s. During this phase, the nation followed the socialist regime with the objectives of planning being rapid industrialization with the emphasis on developing a strong investment in good sectors, poverty alleviation, improving per capita income and an even distribution of income. Public sectors played a central role to the public sector, import substitution, export subsidies and a stagnant restraints of non-technology and investment cooperation with the rest of the world kept India somewhat a closed economy. Substantial controls on capacity expansion and licensing requirements for manufacturing industries were also part of the policy strategy. Phase 2, 1980 to 1990. A reversal trend occurred during the 1980s. The average annual rate of growth increased to around 5.5%. The socialist flavor of Nehruvian policies was blamed for the worsening of the growth performance of the Indian economy by the 1970s. For these policies are believed to limit the foreign competition and make domestic firms inefficient and also limit productivity, enhancing structural transformation by restricting the possibility of resource reallocation to more productive sectors. In context, post-1980s period featured several pro-business policies and reforms, many including import liberalization, export incentives, exchange rate policies, and expansionary fiscal policy. Then phase 3. Phase 1, it was 1950 to 1980. Phase 2, 1980 to 1990. Then phase 3, 1990 to 2080. In the first 3 years of the 1990, the GDP grew at 4% annually. In the following 4 years, the growth rate jumped to 7.1%, but only to fall back to 5.2% in the succeeding 5 years. The underlying trend growth rate during the decade was just over 6%. Overall, subsequently, the period 2003 to 8 saw the real GDP growth at 8.2% annually. Meanwhile, population growth rate stabilized at around 1.1% per annum. The sustained growth at 8% plus resulted from many serious policy initiatives on the part of the government, significant lowering of tariff and non-tariff barriers, trade policy reforms, along with a major revamping of industrial policies, especially in the withdrawal of industrial regulation of foreign direct investment were introduced. These, coupled with a favorable external environment in the form of rising exports, increasing the inflow of foreign capital, set in motion 3 factors which can be described as 3 engines of growth. 3 engines of growth. 1. Consumption spending was a large contributor to the growth of performance. Decreasing relative price of many goods and services as a result of a domestic and global competition, competitive pressures in retail finance, and steadily rising incomes compounded into a powerful force, even if each of the components may not be very large. 2. Investment in new capacity was the second engine of the growth. Investment in first it was consumption spending. Second it was in the new capacity was the second engine of growth. New capacity investment activity is characterized by certain lumpiness, which means the capacity addition comes in spurt, exceeding immediate requirements but attaining the subsequent catch up in demand. Investment spending consequently goes up sharply at the beginning of a cycle and declines just as abruptly once the desired capacity has been created. The investment cycle was on upswing. 3 exports of both goods and services were the third engine of growth. India's merchandise exports got getting diversified geographically, and therefore we are not very vulnerable to localized business cycle. All these 3 engines gained in addition boost by what appears to be sustained across the broad increase in productivity. Then phase 2, 2008 to 2014. The growth process slowed during the 2008 and 9 to 2009 in the wake of global economic crisis. Although some indicators of slowdown had made their presence felt in earlier, global economic crisis resulted in fall in inflows of foreign direct investment, rise in outflows on account of portfolio disinvestment, decline in export orders from developed market economies, as a result of which domestic investment, employment and consumption slowed down. The slowdown affected all sectors of the economy. Growth rate in the service sector during 2008-2009 came down to 9.3% against 10.8 in 2007 and 2008. In agriculture to 1.6% from Hello. Real
Yes,
GDP
sir.
growth. The real GDP growth rate slowed down to 6.5% during 2011 to 2012. It continued to be slow on subsequent 2 years in 2012 to 2013. Apart from the slow recovery in India's export distinctions, there were several domestic policy concerns, including ban on iron ore mining, cancellation of coal blocks, delays in environmental clearance, emergence of non-performing asset crisis, and the consequent double balance sheet problem that resulted in this slowdown. 2008 to 2014, this was the situation. Another major concern of this stage, though not entirely unexpected, was the sharp dip in the growth rate of private consumption. Four factors seem to have contributed to this slowdown. First, it could be due to the wealth effect resulting from
Sir.
decline in the asset.
Sir.
Second,
Hello.
hello.
Sir, can you come up with your own words, sir, rather than reading it so you could understand better?
Okay.
It's
Second, the
like you are
uncertainty.
reading something we have to follow.
It is a Indian economic policy. It is a very good topic, which you can read and go through it. Just I will give some boost to you. Is the situation. You can understand better by reading, and also just I am telling in my language. Then first, it could be wealth effect resulting from a decline in the asset. Second, the uncertainty in the labor market and some decline in the employment in India's tradable sectors may have moderated the growth in the consumption expenditure. I have PowerPoint presentation, but how it I will do it, I cannot go through this. How I will give
I understand, sir. If
ମୁଁ
you put me
କେମିତି ଗୋଟେ
on share
ପକେଇବି, ମୋର
screen,
ଅଛି,
I
ମୁଁ
will.
PowerPoint ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟେସନଟା କରିଛି
Okay, sir.
ହେଲା।
ଆପଣ ଯଦି ମତେ ଶୋ କରେଇବେ ମୁଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଗାଇଡ୍ କରିଦେବି କେମିତି ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟେସନ ଟା ଶୋ କରିବେ।
ଯେ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ୍ଲାସକୁ ଏ କ୍ଲାସ ଯାଉ ହେଲା, ତମେ
ହଁ।
ଆସିବ। ମୁଁ ତ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର ରହୁଛି। ୟୁ ଆର୍ ଇନ୍ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର?
No, sir.
ୟୁ ଆର୍ ଇନ୍ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର?
No, sir.
Where are you staying?
Sir, ବରହମପୁର।
ବ୍ରହ୍ମପୁର। ବ୍ରହ୍ମପୁର ମୁଁ ତ ଯାଇଥିଲି ବ୍ରହ୍ମପୁର ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ଗୋଟେ ଇଣ୍ଟରନ୍ୟାସନାଲ କନଫରେନ୍ସ। ଦେଖିବା ହେଲା, ଠିକ
Sir,
ଅଛି। କିନ୍ତୁ
ଆପଣ
ମୁଁ ନେକ୍ସଟ ଟାଇମ୍
topic wise discuss କରନ୍ତୁ rather than reading, sir.
ଏଇଟା ତ କୁଇକଲି ସରିଯିବ ନା, ସରିଯିବ। ତେଣୁକରି ଆମର 5ଟା ଟୁଡେ ଆଇ ହାଭ୍ ଟୁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ ଦି ବ୍ଲକ୍ 1। ବ୍ଲକ୍ 1 ହେଉଛି এই যে block 1, this is the unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4 and unit 5 within 2 hours ହେଲା। Then fourth, during slowdown of dominance of precautionary motive may have induced consumers to their spending decisions on shift to unbranded lower quality alternatives. Then you come to the point, phase 5th, 2014 to 2019 and onwards. During this period, Indian economy registered an average GDP growth rate of 7.5%. Several initiatives has been taken by the government to spur growth, include government following 4R approach: recognition, resolution, recapitalization and reforms to strengthen banks and foster clean and responsible banking. Simplification of the labor laws, bringing reforms in corporate affairs, introduction of e-clearances, relaxing foreign direct investment rule, easing know your customer for investors in capital market, rendering more support to non-banking finance companies, housing finance companies, micro, small and medium enterprises, introduction of indirect tax reform in the form of goods and services tax, introduction of insolvency bankruptcy code for the speedy resolution of insolvency and bankruptcy cases of companies, demonetization of to curb black money, corruption, counterfeit notes, which in turn opened gates for a cashless economy. This was the phase of 5th, 2014 to 2019 and onwards. Then in growth initiatives, make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Startup India has been initiated. Service sector also, IT business process outsourcing, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, textiles, challenges, opportunities, democratically divided challenges in terms of infrastructure, inclusive growth, global trade, all these has been developed in growth and structure of the Indian economy. Government initiative Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Startup India is going on. So that this is the situation of growth and structure of the Indian economy. Then the rise of tertiary sectors, composition, causes and prospect. Tertiary service sector. A recent study divides the service sector into three parts. Group 1 comprises of traditional services, trade, transport, public administration, defense. Then 2, hotels, education, health, community and social services. And Group 3, in the modern services sector, including financial services, computer services, business services, communications, and legal and technical services. The share of Group 1 activities has stagnated, which in accordance to the trend in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries. Causes of rapid increase in tertiary sector. The non-commodity sector has been growing at a faster rate than the commodity sector. This is essence, means that income generated in the process of circulation grew at a much faster pace than in the directly productive process, thereby resulting in an increase in the share of non-commodity sector. The trend can be attributed to a number of factors, among which the more important are as follows. A very important factor has been the advantage of information technology and the knowledge economy. Second, a large part of the service sector consists of infrastructure and banking, insurance, finance, transport, communication and social communication services, with educational and medical facilities. Public services grow more rapidly where national government have significant role in planning and production in the economy as a whole. Then operation and of the demonstration effect as a consequence of the growing mobility due to expanding foreign trade, tourism and cultural and educational tours in another important factor. Increasing urbanization may be regarded as another cause of expansion of the service sector in the economy. Then tourism is becoming more and more international, as well as knowledge being spread through television and internet, and modern technology has made air transport and hotel accommodations quite comfortable. Tourism in turn has compelled all types of services. With the increasing complexity of modern industrial organization, manufacturing industries have become service oriented. This has been reflected in the training functions of accounting, finance, legal services, advertisement, marketing, public relations, etc. Because of the prevalent labor laws, these services are being increased outsourced, so that growth in industry is actually being counted as a growth in services. Another factor, albeit very important, has been favorable international environment. These are the causes of rapid increase in tertiary sector. Then prospects of opportunities, domestic factor will come, domestic, then international factors and progress in IT. These are the important factors of prospects and opportunities. Limitations. Economic and social position of workers in the service sector will steadily go down since real incomes cannot be higher than productivity for any extended length of time. Second, the workers in this sector will use their numerical strength to get wages higher than their economic contribution justified. Then, need for an integrated policy. The contribution of the service sector to the Indian economy has been manifold. A 57% share in GDP, growing by 10% annually, contributed to about a quarter of total employment, accounting for a high share in FDI inflows and over 1/3 of total exports, recording very fast export growth. This is the need for an integral policy, the medium and long-term growth prospects of the economy. Then major policy initiatives in the recent decades. In major policy initiatives in the recent decades containing inflation and soaring fiscal deficit. there was an agreement, the Government of India and the Reserve Bank of India. A monetary policy was constituted in February 2015 with the mandate to target a headline inflation of 4% with a band of 2 percentage points on either side. The framework has been successful in containing inflation since April 2015 when the Monetary Policy Committee was first convened. The monthly headline inflation has always remained within the band except for 1 month. Then second, to beneficiary focus on targeted delivery. Re-establishing macroeconomic stability, the government also focused on last mile delivery of basic services to the poor, on the basic needs and on creating pathways for the benefits of growth to reach the bottom of the socio-economic ladder. The promulgation of Aadhaar, then Act 2016 was on such an initiative that opened a major pathways to this trickle down by assigning a unique identification number to every individual. The government now has the ability to provide targeted support. Presently, Aadhaar coverage stands at more than 90% of the country's population. This is the beneficial focus. And infrastructure also, infrastructure, in the construction of national highways, then the infrastructure of northeastern states was a special focus, and there has a significant improvement in the connectivity with the building of care bridges and the expansion of railways, highways, and also infrastructure in Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana became a milestone in infrastructure development. Federalism. Fiscal federalism strengthened significantly when the 14th Finance Commission increased the share of states in individual pool of central taxes from 32% up to 42%. These are the situation of federalism. Corporate exists, demonetization, goods and services taxes. Then the challenges remains. The challenges remains non-farm employment opportunity, demographic transition dividend, urbanization, poverty and inequality. In poverty and inequality, poverty elimination has remained a major challenge right from the independence and lies at the core of India's national development agenda to create a just and a equitable society. Poverty has always been a matter of concern in Indian economy. A significant part of the country and the population is deprived of access to basic healthcare, food, drinking water, sanitation, as well as financial services, making the minimum standard of living out of their reach, largely due to long years of centralized development. Inequitable distribution of income, poverty is worsened by the relatively high level of income inequality. Hence, there has always remained the need of an attempt to eliminate poverty. Environment and climate change is an important factor also. In India, both a major greenhouse gas emitter and one of the vulnerable countries in the world to projected climate change. The country is already experiencing changes in climate and impact of climate change, including water stress, heat waves, drought, severe storm, flooding, associated negative consequences on health and livelihoods. With a 1.3 billion but growing population and dependence on agriculture, India probably will be severely impacted and continuing climate change. This calls for innovations, new technologies, and new approach to economic development. Climate change also impact on agriculture mostly. Now there is several programs is supporting to the farmers is going on for agriculture development in macro level and also in micro level. That is so government also supporting individual households, farmers to through integrated farming and different programs and also input support, seeds, fertilizer, and also the technical supports their government of India is giving to the farmers for the agricultural productivity. Then come to the infrastructure. India's ambition of sustaining its relatively high growth depends on one important factor, infrastructure. The country, however, is plagued with weak infrastructure, incapable of meeting the needs of a growing economy and a growing population. The corporate growth and investment can also be hampered if the government fails to close the infrastructure deficit, which some expert estimates cost 4 to 5% of GDP due to inefficiencies. This was the situation of different challenges in hello in the growth of and structure of the Indian economy. Hello. Then came to the unit 3,
Yes,
demographic
yes,
transition and the implications. In demographic transition, refers to the changes that occur in a country's population over time, as it moves from a state of high birth and death rates to one of low birth and death rates. Demographic transition refers to the changes that occur in a country's population over time. So, stages of demographic growth, different stages of demographic growth. That is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, all these. The Malthusian's theory, and also the proportion of working age, 15 to 59, and fall in the proportion of a dependent population of age group 0 to 15 and 16 above gives birth to a window of opportunity. Demographic, the working age population helps in savings, investment, improves the economic prosperity, standard of living of the people. However, the benefits of a demographic dependent are not automatic or guaranteed. It depends upon several factors like education, health, employment, infrastructure, right economic policies, and good governance. The potential demographic dependent, if not actualized, may turn into demographic disaster, where young population become a liability or a permanent burden of the economy. Understand? Hello? Hello? This is
yes,
the
sir. But it is the three parts. So you have said that it is four parts.
three parts. First stage of a demographic transition, second stage is demographic transition 2, third stage of demographic transition. It may be, but three stages of demographic transition: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. First, in this stage, the death rates are high due to absence of effective medical aid, primitive sanitation, and a
So,
poor
sir,
diet.
one leads to another.
The first
Stage one
demographic,
leads to stage two,
second,
stage.
stage 3, stage 3. Not 4. 4 it has been it is in stage 3, which I had I told in a separate stage 4. But 3, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. That is first, the death rates are high due to absence of effective medical aid, primitive sanitation, and poor diets. Then second, with economic development resulting in high incomes, improvement in public health facilities, there is a marked decline in mortality. That raises life expectancy from under 40 to 60 years. However, the decline in death rate is not immediately accompanied by decline in fertility. In this stage, the decline transition with decline death rate, birth rate does not follow correspondingly. This lead to transition from a stable to slow growing population, rapidly increasing population. This is the transition of stable population. Then third stage, demographic transition, the
So, sir,
process
what
and
is the
stage.
demographic transition, sir?
Hello.
Sir, you have not said what is demographic transition, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Demographic transition refers to the changes that occurred in a country's population over time, as it moves from a state of high birth rate, high death rate, or remains the same. This is you have told that the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3.
So, sir,
stage 1 hochi
particularly in
high
a
birth
period of time, the change of death rate and birth rate are
ha
basically
ha
called demographic transitions.
bas transition refers to the changes that occur in a country over time. That is moves to from stage of high birth death rate and low birth and low death rate. This is the situation. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Stage,
You may continue.
huh. You are whatever you are telling that is right. It is refers to the changes that occur in a country's population over time. This is a demographic transition. Understand? Huh.
Yes, sir.
First stage of demographic transition, second stage of demographic transition, third stage of demographic transition. The process and influence of modernization. That is, the economic development causes fertility rate of decline, so that falling birth rate eventually converges with the death rate, leaving little or no population growth. The characteristics of the third stage are low birth rate, low death rate, small family size, and low growth rate of population. These are the three which you told earlier. That is the three phases, demographic, three phases of stages of demographic transition. Understand? One, stage 2, and stage 3. First, second, and third. Then come to demographic profile of India. Demographic profile of India, it is the size and growth rate of population in India. Then India has around 2.4% of total land area of the world, and approximately 70% of the world population residing in this country. In 2011, the population of India was 1,210 million, making it the second largest in the world. Area-wise, India is at the 7th position in the world. Then India demographic phases. Demographic phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. The first, stagnant population in 1891 to 1921. Then phase 2, 1921 to 1951, steady growth. Steady growth. First, during the first phase of 30 years, India's population grew from 236 million in 1891 to 251 million in 1921. His high birth rate was neutralized by high death rate that ensured that population growth was stable during this period. Then phase 2, 1921 to 1951, steady growth. During the second phase of demographic transition, population grew from 251 million in 1921 to 361 million in 1951. The population grew by 110 million with the compound growth rate of 1.22% per year. The death rate during this period decreased from 47 per thousand to 27 per thousand. The fall in death rate was mainly due to control of widespread epidemics like plague, smallpox, cholera that took heavy toll of human lives. This was the situation of phase 2, 1921 to 51. Phase 3, 1951 to 1981, rapid growth. During the third phase of 30 years, India's population grew from 361 million in 1951 to 683 million in 1981. There was a record growth of population by 322 million with a compound annual growth rate of 1.22% per annum. With the beginning of planning, the extension of hospitals, medical facilities were undertaken as a large scale. Then phase 4, 1981 to 2011, high growth with the definite signs of slowing down. India entered the fourth phase of democratic transition marked by high population growth with the definite sign of slowing down. Total population increased from 83 million in 1981 to 2010 million in 2011, indicating an increase of 77.2% during the 30-year period. most Indian states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Assam have recorded low birth rates during this phase. States like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan will take some more years for a complete implementation of family planning program. Then birth rates and death rates. The rate of growth of population depends upon birth rate and death rate. The difference between birth rate and death rate gives accelerated deceleration in the growth of population. After 1921, the gap between birth rate and death rate widened. There was a fall in the death rate from 48.6 per thousand 1911 to 1922, 7.1% thousand in 2001 to 2010. Then high growth rate population in India is an outcome of a consistently high birth rate but a relatively fast declining death rate. In the birth rate also showed a decline after 1971 due to family planning programs. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Punjab achieved a birth rate below 20% per thousand. But states like Haryana, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh had a high birth rate ranging from 27 to 28 per thousand. Hence, India as a whole did not enter third stage of a demographic transition. Gender composition of the population. Gender ratio is a perfect way. Gender ratio is a perfect way to find the number of women in any country. Gender ratio shows ratio from females so that males in India. According to census 2011, there were 940 females per 1000 males compared to 930 females per 1000 males in 2001. The imbalance in gender ratio in India has been persistent, showing a continuous decline trend in 1901. Then Professor Amartya Sen has said, ignoring the nutrition needs of a girl child leading to higher mortality, high maternal mortality due to insufficient care and attention, sex selection abortion due to social preference for a boy across the communities, then a female infanticide, deterioration in the gender ratio at birth. These are the few lines which Amartya Sen pointed out in relation to gender. Literacy and gender also. Literacy is an important indicator of development. It helps in advancing modernization, urbanization, industrialization, communication and commerce. Literacy is giving the status to a particular region, to a person, so that it plays a vital role in economic mobility, creating equality and contributing social development, including addressing the factors behind imbalance in the sex ratio. Then gender selection abortions in India. The proportion of female in India total population has been low, declining since several decades. The declining gender ratio or sex imbalances have been the cause of grave concern since it reflects the mindsets of people. India is a country where son is given a strong preference compared to daughters in many families. There are various social, cultural, and economic factors like economic support, property inheritance, old age security, prestige, beliefs about religious rituals, and salvation that leads to preference for sons over daughters. This is the situation. The government response. Sex determinants or tests have become a part of a strategy to ensure desired family sex composition. Sex selection, in fact, is preferable alternative to female infanticide or discriminatory illy treated girls after birth. The response of Indian government have been slow and effective. Use of parental diagnosis technologies for indicating the sex of the fetus is banned. Offenses are punishable by the imprisonment and a fine. This is the government response. Age composition. The age structure or composition of a population is the distribution by age of the population. Age is the central concept in demography or two regions. Demographic behavior and benefits of a demographic dividend depends on the age structure of the population. Population of a different age structure relate to each other. In the age group of 0 to 14, the male population is about 1% more than the female population. A higher proportion of a male family in the working age group 15 to 59 live in the urban areas as compared to rural areas. Then life expectancy. Life expectancy is the number of years a newborn child would live if he subjected to the mortality risks prevailing for the population at the time of childbirth. In the year 1901 to 10, life expectancy was very low. The rise became substantial from 1951. It was 41.3 years in 1961, 45.6 years in 1971, 50.5 years in 1981, 63.4 years in 2000, and at present 69 years which women expect to live for 70.4 years and men for 67.8 years. Then population growth and development. Population growth according to K. Sundaram, the implication of growing demographic pressures in India for the process of development in general and the progress towards poverty eradication became clear once we focus on the labor force consequences of the population growth. The magnitude of the addition to the workforce brings forth challenges pertaining to their productive absorption and capital constraint in the labor market. Skilling and training millions of youth entering the labor force is a Herculean task for any government. Population and agriculture. The rising labor force puts pressure on land, thereby reducing per capita cultivated area. The fall in the cultivated land-man ratio can be compensated by taking efforts to raise productivity. Irrigation potential, if utilized, can raise agricultural productivity and fulfill the requirements of rising population. With green, and also Government of India has taken some initiative, some programs which for boosting the agriculture, like commercialization of agriculture, and also giving support to the agriculture intensification program and crop diversification also. Hence, the challenges of food production, food consumption, and food availability have to be seen in different light. Population growth and per capita income. A high growth rate of population has been a retarding factor to raise per capita income. This is the cumulative effect of the growth of population and increase in economic activity. Then population and unemployment. Rising population is accompanied by a rise in the labor force that has a bearing on the problem of unemployment. Millions of youth enter labor force every year, and absorption of all of them in the manufacturing and service sector is a challenging risk. Generating employment opportunity to absorb the increasing labor force and a backlog of the unemployed pool has to be a priority to the government. Job creation requirement, significant amount of resources invested in infrastructure, tourism, manufacturing, construction, MSMEs, railways, and similarly, promotion of women's employment opportunities and female literacy can play a vital role in harnessing the demographic dependent to the nation. Population growth and environment also. The demographic growth has implications on environment resources, including water resources, fodder, forest products, fisheries, and air quality, soil, and other non-renewable sources. The degradation of environment has a deteriorating impact on the quality of life and well-being of the people. The greater reliance on solar and nuclear energy, judicious use of water resources, afforestation, and organic farming can play a significant role in preserving the environment, which the Government of India has taken organic farming, solar initiation of solar energy, and also how the well-being of people can be helped to the people. The Government of India initiated so many programs and policies. Population growth and social infrastructure. Social and population growth leads to excessive pressure on social, economic, and infrastructure, including sewage systems, hospital facilities, education institutions, highways, railway networks, power grids, garbage processing, plants, and other public amenities. Due to urban agglomeration, there has been qualitative deterioration of social and physical economic infrastructure. The pace of rural-urban migration has further increased slums in metropolitan cities, burdening the already inadequate infrastructure resources. India needs to increase its expenditure on health, education, enhances labor productivity and employment. In relation to India, our labor force is very, their human resources is very low in comparison with the developed countries. India needs to increase its expenditure on health and education, enhance labor productivity and employment, creating quality education institutions at primary, secondary, and tertiary level, and expenditures on skill development training are essential to take advantage of new innovative technology in the future. That is a Skill India, Startup India, and also the the different training centers which is working in a different district level for to enhance the labor productivity and employment, creating quality education institutions at primary, secondary, tertiary level, and expenditures on skill development. Training are essential to take advantage of a new and innovative technology in future. Similarly, India suffers from problem of low doctor population ratio, high out-of-pocket expenditure health. By increasing public expenditure on health, we can improve medical facilities and achieve goals of eradicating malnutrition, disease burden. The task of providing housing to every Indian requires allocation of resources and political will to execute the required social interventions. Government of India is supporting Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and although also medical support to the poor people, and also the infrastructure development, training, so many support the government of India is giving in different ways, different policy, different schemes, population policy, family planning and 5-year plans. To achieve family planning goals, government adopted the following measures: motivation program to spread knowledge of family planning through radio, newspaper, TV, film sheets, involvement of various sectors in contrast with delinquency to all rural and urban population, and also financial incentives and political restrictions to encourage family planning, extensive sterilization of both males and females. National population policy introduced in 2000. National Population Policy 2000 was announced on 15 February 2000 with an objective to control the rapidly growing population and stabilizing it at a reasonable level. Then intermediate objectives. The objective is to provide for facilities to meet the unmet needs for contraception, healthcare infrastructure, health personnel, and integrated service delivery for basic reproductive and child health care. Medium-term objectives. The medium term is to bring total fertility rate to replacement level by 2010. Long-term objectives, that is long-term objective is stabilizing population by 2045 at a level consistent with requirements of sustainable economic growth, social development, and environmental protection. Then come to the demographic change and demographic economic growth. Age structure and economic growth, age is an important factor for economic growth. There have been two significant breakthroughs regarding the impact of demographic on economic growth. First effect is changing age structure of the population, and second relates to population and health. Then concept of demographic dividend. The demographic dividends are composite of 5 distinct forces: the swing of a labor force as a baby boomers reach working age, the ability to divert social resources to investment in physical capital, job training, and technological progress, the rise in women's workforce, actively to labor force participation rate, that naturally encourage a decline in fertility. The working age or age between 15 years to 59 years in prime age for savings, which augments accumulation of physical and human capital and technological means. With increase in life expectancy, there is a boost to savings that occur as the incentive to save for longer periods of retirement increases. Then a demographic dependent policy intervention in policy information, education and skills. There is a demographic window of opportunity has there is some challenges which education and skills, employment, efficient infrastructure, information technology, small scale industries, reformed outlook towards the informal sector, then environmental issues, family planning program, good governance. Then come to the capturing India's demographic dependence. India has the advantages of harnessing the benefits of demographic dependence, but this is neither obvious nor guaranteed. It requires favorable policies and institutions along with good governance to reap the benefits in time-bound manner. Then come to the Unit 4, natural resources. What is the natural resources? The natural resources in India can be broadly divided into two categories, renewable natural resources and non-renewable natural resources. As the term suggests, renewable resources can those that are replenished through natural and human-assisted processes, whereas non-renewable sources are not thus replenished by and hence subject to cumulative depletion through use of one kind or other. Renewable sources are certain categories: forest, soil, groundwater, which are potentially vulnerable to depletion due to over-exploitation, mismanagement, or neglect. In such cases, renewability is not guaranteed, and there are known instances of running down of resource stock. On the other hand, within group of non-renewable sources, there are those that are simply consumed by use, such as coal, petroleum, natural gas, while there are those are theoretically provided a requisite technology in available and cost prices conditions, make it economically feasible, recoverable for use of intermediate inputs after necessary processing. Metallic minerals, as we have seen above, are not destroyed by extraction or even by the use and are in principle available for recycling. As a matter, metallurgical occurs since the same may be prohibitive, costly, or technically impossible. The major issues of NRM, natural resource management, optimizes the use of natural resources to meet current livelihood needs while maintaining and improving stock and quality of natural resources for the benefit of future generation. Natural resource management must meet the long-term nutritional needs of the community, and it contributes the poverty reduction by improving the income earning opportunities for poor local communities. It requires consideration of overall sustainability of rural livelihood and ecosystem, economic system. The availability of resources. India is rich in natural resources with a diverse range of landscapes and ecosystems that support minerals, water, forests. Then in coal, India has the fourth largest coal reserves globally, with the major coal fields in Odisha, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. Iron ore, similarly, India is the third largest producer of iron ore globally, with significant deposits in Odisha, Jharkhand, Karnataka and Goa. Limestone also, India has the vast limestone reserves, with major deposits in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Rajasthan. Manganese also, India is the world's seventh largest producer of manganese, with the significant deposits in Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Water resources, India has extensive water resources including rivers, lakes, wetlands, which support agriculture, industry and drinking water needs. Then the availability of resources, their utilization and capacity to mobilize additional resources determine an economy's ability to overcome the constraints on its development. Then, as in most other emerging economies, a large proportion of the population of India is dependent upon agriculture and other primary activities which consist in direct exploitation of natural resources. The natural resources of India, as the following survey indicates, are varied to provide adequate basis of building a diversified model economy. Knowledge of natural resources. Work on mapping and surveying of natural resources has expanded greatly under the 5-year plans. The Indian Bureau of Mines was established in 1950 to undertake an economic assessment of natural resources and to formulate programs of development. The Oil and Natural Gas Commission, established in the late 1950s to undertake exploration and development of petroleum resources, has been responsible for major discoveries of oil and natural gas in Assam, Gujarat, and Bombay. The Central Water and Power Commission, established in 1945, has the responsibility for the coordination of hydrological investigations and assessment of natural resources. A soil land use survey has been established under the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Systematic soil surveys are being undertaken by it in cooperation with the state departments of agriculture and farmers empowerment. The newly introduced forest survey, the state of forest reports which are published in regular intervals, the national laboratories and the Institute of Scientific Research are also undertaken studying related to evaluation for utilization of natural resources, IMT, Regional Research Center, and also different research institutes are initiated and for evaluation and utilization of natural resources. Land and soils. Land in India, the available land on the basis of its use can be classified in two parts: agricultural land and non-agricultural land. Agricultural land, it includes net sown area, current plows, land under mescled tree crops and groves. Agricultural land in India totals a little over 50% of total geographical area. The land now it is in this is the highest among large medium-sized countries of the world, indicating the influence of favorable physical factors such as large area, extents of plains, plateaus, and a very small extent of arid areas. About 15.8% of the country's geographical area is arid. The extension of cultivation to a large portion of cultivable land. Then non-agricultural land, this includes land under forests, permanent pastures, and other non-agricultural uses. Now, agricultural land has decreasing day by day due to increase in population and also the industrialization, infrastructure development, and also the housing. By which the agricultural land is decreasing day by day. Non-agricultural land. Three important changes in the land utilization witnessing during the last 7 decades. Reclamation of waste and fallow lands, a significant increase in the area shown more than once, a significant fall in the land area under cultivation. Issue of land acquisition. It is a burning topic of the day. Issue of land acquisition. There is the land acquisition for different purposes. In my view, I am as a national level monitor. I have worked in different states of India, and also the land acquisition because industrialization, housing, and also infrastructure development. But why the community everywhere there is a community resistance? Why community resistance? It is land acquisition issue is a burning topic of the day. With the increasing population, exploding urbanization, and growing industrialization, land resources are increasing becoming coming under stress. The issue merits serious attention and calls for satisfactory solution. Need for a comprehensive land use policy. The government of India, also government of Odisha, state government level, they are
Sir, your voice is breaking down, sir, due to some network
industrial
issues.
policy, agricultural policy, and also different policies, policies. The,
We can't hear you, sir, properly.
they are making for the betterment of the people. How they will get the compensation? How they will be reached.
Sir, your voice is breaking down.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
There is a network problem because of the. Uh, then soils. There is a there is a the Indian Council for Agriculture Research divided the soils into 8 major groups. Then alluvial soils, black soils, red soils, laterite soils, forest soils, arid and desert soils, saline and alkaline soils, peaty and organic soils. These are the following soil category. Then the forest, India's forest covers around 24.5% of the country's geographical area. Production providing timber, fuelwood, and other forest products. Mineral resources also. India has the significant deposit of the mineral resources like chromite, bauxite, copper, gold, and diamonds. Oil and natural gas. India has a significant oil and abundant gas resources, with major fields in Bombay, Assam, and Gujarat. There is some rules in the extraction of minerals conservation. There is a mineral conservation and development rules in 1988, Bureau of Mines for Mankind rules, including there is several rules regarding the use of natural resources. Then it is there is some future cropping pattern in India, risk in income levels, need for risk rise in income levels, rise in income levels, the level of income it is to be expected that this will involve an increase in demand for super skills. As the middle class increases, there will be change in consumption pattern, leading to single. This is related to the farm to plate. The government of India has taken so much initiative for to implement the different level for crop diversification. In crop diversification, there is agriculture, horticulture, livestock, fishery, beekeeping, mushroom cultivation, and also in agriculture also how the cereals, pulses, and also different crops like sugar cane, how they will be diversified. Different programs, plans has been initiated by the government. Need to adapt to the water scarcity. Water is an important for the for agriculture. It is high time that crop pattern changes should be introduced in regions increasing faced with water shortages. Crops like rice and sugarcane have been parasites on water. These crops may be substituted by irrigated crops like pulses, oilseeds, cotton, vegetables, flower vegetables, especially in water scarce areas. Government of India has taken so many initiatives for crop diversification in different angles, scope, size. There is in highland cultivation, medium land cultivation, lowland cultivation. How the farmers will get more profit. The government of India has taken so much initiative and irrigation development. How in different levels. Reservoir, through reservoir, or through the river lift, and also কৃষক বন্ধু পেডাল পাম্প, pond and a well, different and also solar supporting solar through solar system. Government of India initiated so many programs for to solve the water scarcity problem, and also then come to the biodiversity. India contains a great wealth of biological diversity in its wetland and its marine areas. There are about 350 species of mammals, 1,224 species of birds, 480 species of reptiles, 197 amphibians, 2,546 species of fishes, and 15,000 flowering plants. The importance of these biological resources cannot be overemphasized for the continued well-being of Indian population. There is a act, the Biological Diversity Act in 2002. Forest resources, it's an important resources. They provide metals like fuel wood, small timber, fodder for direct use of by the agriculturalist. The benefits of forest in the matter of soil conservation, recreation, wildlife have been well recognized. Then there is a national forest policy. The national forest policy was first initiated in 1952, revised in 1988. The policy lays emphasis on the conservation of forest, meeting the requirements of the tribal and rural people. The Scheduled Tribe and other Forest Dwellers Act 2006 has enacted in pursuance of this policy. Tribals also been associated with the protection, regeneration, and development of forests cooperatives running by them or by the government. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, hello. Je- Hello. Then mineral resources. These can be divided into four categories. Minerals of which India's export to surplus can dominate the world market. To this category belong to iron ore and mica. Mineral resources export to surplus forms an important factor, include bauxite, gypsum, and others. Then another is appears the country is self-sufficient like coal, sodium salt, glass sand, phosphates, bauxite. Mineral resources India has to develop depend largely on entirely foreign markets like copper, nickel, petroleum, lead, zinc, tin, mercury, platinum, graphite, and other minerals. Various minerals can also be classified into three categories based on their nature and land use. These three categories are fuels like coal, lignite, natural gas, and petroleum. Second, metallic minerals like bauxite, iron ore, manganese, etc. Non-metallic minerals like phosphates, graphite, gypsum, limestone, mica. Then features, minerals resources are very unevenly distributed. The country is deficient in certain minerals like crude oil or petroleum. Then there are minerals which are lucrative foreign exchange earners. These are the features of minerals. There is a mineral policy in 2008. Then acquiring mineral resources abroad. In view of worsening commodity crisis, the government of India has been advised to adopt the Chinese model of buying foreign minerals, mining rights. The principal focus in the Chinese model is on acquisition of ownership of reserves in coal, oil, and gas. Acquiring minerals reserves in other resource-rich nations is considered key to India's energy security, owing to domestic constraints in exploiting reserves and the global rise in commodity prices. Also, holding such assets act as a strategic tool in energy diplomacy for developing and maintaining foreign relations. Then, allocation of natural resources. This is a fast come, fast served, competitive binding. Through competitive binding, natural resources can be distributed scarce money well. Then come to the environment issue, environment and economic development. In environment has been defined as the aggregate of all the external conditions and influences affecting the life and development of an organism. It is an important factor nowadays. Environmental protection in India is largely land use changes often in ecological sensitive areas, displacement of a large number of people from their homes and livelihood sources, extensive interventions in natural hydrological regimes, disruption of local biotic regimes, loss of a forest cover, especially owing to mining projects since a very large proportion of the unexploited mineral wealth of India, including coal and forest land. A substantial increase in the air and water pollution, load which may be of local, regional, national, or global concern. Then National Environment Policy 2006. These are these are the these are the natural resources of India. Hello, am I audible? Hello,
Yes, sir.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Today we finished in in we finished in block 1. Block 1, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, and unit 4, natural resources. You will go through Indian economic development historical perspective, unit 2, growth and structure of the Indian economy, then a demographic transition and its implication you know very well. Then natural resources, you will go through the through. Then in the next class, it will be better. I will give some presentations in slide. Hello, hello.
Yes,
Then
sir. You should
unity
come with other patterns
uh,
to teach rather than reading, sir.
today. I will give you, yes, this is my, as I am a national level monitor, I have visited different states of India. I know the physical structure, I know the population, I know the environment, their agriculture, horticulture, livestock, fishery pattern, and also the minerals, manganese, iron ore, cobalt, nickel, zinc, copper, whatever their resources. I have visited Northeast. I have the northern areas, southern areas, and also I have visited Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh, Odisha. I have almost all the blocks I have covered. Whereas it is a very good topic for me. There will be no any problem for to giving the presentation. Last time I have visited to in Barampur University to attend the international conference in global climate change. I have presented a paper in a special program for promotion of integrated farming. So that it is a very good topic for me, and there will be no problem. Next class, I will do it in a presentation, and I will be thoroughly give the presentation. Then physical next class, unit 5, it will be I will give it will be physical and social infrastructure. You know, you will go through the physical and social infrastructure. It is a very good topic. In a physical and social infrastructure, you know very well, transportation network, energy generation, distribution, communication network, irrigation, education, healthcare, housing. All these things you will include. I will give you some presentation in the next class. Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless
Thank you, sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.